It started with a scream. Not the kind you hear in Hollywood thrillers, but the kind that rips through still, expensive air in a gated mansion. The kind of scream neighbors don't talk about, because in Montecito, silence is luxury. But that night, silence wasn't an option. What really happened behind those gates? What pushed Meghan Markle, a woman who built her entire image around poise and power, to allegedly lash out at Prince Harry so ferociously that even security was stunned? And why did Prince Harry, the man who gave up his title, his family, and his country for love, walk away as if he'd seen a ghost? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. You're not going to get the sugar-coated, palace-approved version here. This isn't the story Meghan and Harry want out there. This is what insiders, neighbors, and staff, those behind the scenes, are now whispering. And it's not just about a fight. It's about a betrayal, a meltdown, a last straw, and a plan, long in the works, that just detonated. Let's rewind a few days before the explosion. Meghan and Harry were spotted at a local organic market. Arms linked, cameras clicking, smiles wide. But look closer at those images. Meghan's knuckles were white from gripping Harry's arm. He was looking off to the side, expression vacant. One tabloid ran the headline, "Still in love." Another quietly captioned it, "Is he even there?" Then came the leak. A strange bit of chatter from a staffer claiming Meghan had been removed from the Montecito estate. Not left, not walked away, removed. At first, no one believed it. Removed? From her own home? But whispers turned into documents. And those documents turned into a pattern. Suddenly, Meghan was nowhere to be found. No social media posts. No paparazzi sightings. No paparazzi? That alone was a red flag. Meghan doesn't vanish unless she wants to vanish. Or unless she's been forced to. Why now? Why would this happen in the middle of what was supposed to be Meghan's grand comeback? Her cooking show, her book deals, her podcast revival, her rumored secret documentary. Everything was lining up, until it all unraveled. Some say it started with a private letter, one Harry allegedly wrote to King Charles in the middle of the night. A letter that somehow ended up in Meghan's hands. Some say it had nothing to do with the royals, and everything to do with a phone call from a Hollywood executive that didn't go Meghan's way. Others believe the pressure, the isolation, and the growing public backlash finally cracked something she'd worked so hard to control. But here's the thing. Insiders don't agree on why it happened. They agree on what happened. A blow-up. An attack. A man left shaken and humiliated. And a woman escorted out of the mansion she once called her castle. And that's where we begin. Because the real question isn't what Meghan said to Harry. It's what Harry did after. And trust me, what comes next, no one saw coming. What does it take to break a royal love story? At first glance, Harry and Meghan's Montecito escape looked like a dream. Ocean breeze. Palm trees. $14 million estate with 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, and a chicken coop fit for a lifestyle brand. Privacy. Peace. Paradise. But you know what they say about paradise? Sometimes it's just a well-decorated cage. Behind those perfectly staged Instagram moments, tension was thick. Not the kind of tension you can spot in a photo, but the kind you feel when people stop looking each other in the eyes. Friends who used to visit often stopped coming. Meghan's staff turnover skyrocketed. Nannies left. PR reps rotated. Even the gardeners reportedly asked to be reassigned. The whispers started quietly, like rustling leaves outside a closed window. But soon, the whispers turned to knocks. And then, full-blown sirens. Was it money? Maybe. Reports began to circulate about mounting expenses, lavish renovations, private chefs, security bills that even Netflix allegedly hesitated to cover. And speaking of Netflix, let's talk about the pressure. Meghan's much-hyped cooking show, remember that? The With Love, Meghan project. Cameras were rolling, crews on location. But insiders say Meghan was not the Meghan they expected. Demanding, paranoid, constantly rewriting scripts, wanting final say on everything, including what vegetables could be shown on screen. Meanwhile, Harry was withdrawing. Friends say he barely spoke during production days. One crew member claimed Harry would just sit on the patio for hours, headphones in, not even watching the scenes unfold. And there were the rumors of the letter. A quiet note, written in longhand by Harry and allegedly addressed to his father. Some say it was about reconciliation. Others claim it was about separation. But here's where it gets strange. That letter? It never left the house. And somehow, Meghan found it. Was it a mistake? Or was she looking? And when she read it, what did she see? Did she see a man reaching out to a father he swore he'd cut off? Or did she see betrayal? All we know is this: something snapped that night. But before we get to the screams, the broken glass, the guards being called, we need to talk about one moment. One moment when Meghan stood at the top of the staircase, holding that letter in her hand, and said something that chilled the room. He's still theirs. He was never mine. But what she did next would ignite the fire that burned everything down. It didn't start with a fight. It started with silence. The kind that wraps around you like a storm just before it hits. Cold, tight, paralyzing. That night, the Montecito air was unusually still. No crickets, no wind, just pressure. And then, voices. Not whispers. Not the usual bickering between a stressed couple. These were sharp, cutting, piercing through the mansion's thick walls. A neighbor, speaking under anonymity, later said, "It was like something exploded in there. I heard shouting, then a crash, then more shouting. It wasn't normal." Inside the estate, staff members were already on edge. One had reportedly seen Meghan pacing earlier, phone clenched in her hand, muttering under her breath. Another claimed Harry had looked haunted that day, avoiding eye contact and clutching a letter in his pocket. Now, we don't know exactly what was said in that room, but we know the moment things turned. Meghan reportedly confronted Harry with the letter. "So this is who you really are? After everything I've done for you?" Harry, shocked, tried to explain. He hadn't meant to hide it. He just wasn't ready to talk about it. He wanted closure, peace, maybe even his father's approval again. But to Meghan, it wasn't about peace. It was about power. Witnesses say her voice hit a pitch they'd never heard before. The kind that rattles you. That makes you feel small, even if you're a prince. "You're embarrassing me. You're weak. Maybe you've always been weak." That's when the glass shattered. Some say it was a wine glass. Others say it was a vase. Either way, it flew across the room and slammed into the wall just inches from where Harry stood. Security was called. Not by Harry. Not by Meghan. But by a terrified housekeeper. Within minutes, 2 private security officers were in the entryway. Meghan was still yelling. Harry had gone silent, pale, frozen, and then she said it. "Go crawling back to your father. Maybe he'll finally love you the way I pretended to." Pretended? That one word did more damage than any thrown object ever could. Harry didn't scream back. He didn't argue. He just turned, walked into the guest wing, and locked the door behind him. But Meghan wasn't done. She stormed into her room, grabbed her things, and made a call. Not to her agent, not to her lawyer, to someone else entirely. And what she did next would turn this from a private meltdown into a very public unraveling. At sunrise, Montecito looked peaceful. Birds chirped. The ocean breeze returned. A soft golden light spread across the estate's perfectly trimmed hedges. But inside the house, everything had changed. Meghan was gone. Not packed. Not prepped. Gone. A security log leaked by someone close to the estate reveals she left through the back gate at exactly 5:17 a.m. No entourage, no driver, no call to staff, just Meghan and a single suitcase. But she didn't leave quietly. Before she vanished, she made one final call. The number is still unknown, but insiders believe it wasn't a family member, not a manager, not even a close friend. It was a contact from the press. That's right. While Harry was still locked away in the guest wing, reeling from the night before, Meghan was already moving to get her version of the story out. And this wasn't damage control. This was a narrative pivot, the kind only someone who's been here before knows how to execute. Within hours, media outlets started receiving quiet feelers. Stories about a rift, tensions over creative control, Harry's unpredictable behavior, tiny drops of information, framed just enough to plant seeds. But no one picked them up. Not yet. Meanwhile, Harry emerged, disoriented, dressed in yesterday's clothes. He reportedly asked a staffer, "Did she leave?" The answer was yes. She'd taken her phone, her planner, and a hard drive, and left behind her wedding ring. That detail hit hardest. Harry didn't chase her. He didn't call. He didn't tell anyone what to do next. He just walked into the sunroom and sat down. For 3 hours. No food. No phone. Just him and the silence she left behind. Later that day, sources say Harry called King Charles. A brief conversation. Calm. Heavy. No shouting. No demands. Just a single sentence that the palace has refused to confirm or deny. I think it's over, Dad. But here's where it turns. While Harry was making peace with reality, Meghan was seen boarding a flight from Santa Barbara. Destination, unknown. Some claim she headed to a wellness retreat in Arizona. Others believe she went straight to a legal counsel tied to her old network contacts. But before she boarded, she sent one final message. A private DM. To someone Harry never expected to hear from again. And when Harry read it, he didn't cry. He didn't scream. He laughed, then turned ghost white. Because in that message was the name of someone from his past who could ruin everything. There are moments in life when everything slows down. For Prince Harry, it was the second he opened that message. A single DM, plain text. No emojis. No dramatic punctuation. But it hit him like a freight train. Because the message wasn't from Meghan. It was from someone she reached out to. And the name on that screen was Jessica Mulroney. Yes, that Jessica. Once Meghan's closest confidant. Bridesmaid wrangler. Her ride or die. The woman who mysteriously vanished from Meghan's orbit after a quiet falling out the public never fully understood. Until now. Jessica's message was short. She said you'd come crawling. I told her not to involve me. I'm sorry. Harry reportedly stared at that message for a full minute before locking his phone and whispering to himself. So that's who she turned to. Because for Harry, this wasn't just betrayal. It was war strategy. It meant Meghan had already started lining up allies, crafting a comeback, rewriting the narrative in real time, and involving names from the past that were meant to stay buried. And suddenly, everything made sense. The timing of her exit, the calculated silence, the ring left behind, the planted headlines. This wasn't an emotional meltdown. This was a move. A strategic, media-calibrated move. And Harry? He was just a pawn in the new plan. They say he didn't leave the estate that day, or the day after. He canceled all engagements. He didn't call Meghan, didn't speak to the press, didn't even reach out to King Charles again. He sat with it. Because he finally understood something the world has been whispering for months, maybe years. He was never the architect of this escape. He was the passenger, the figurehead, the royal prop. And now, left in a $14 million house with cold floors and empty halls, he saw the truth for the first time. It was never really his kingdom. It was hers. So where does that leave us? Will Harry go back to the UK? Will Meghan unleash the next phase of her solo empire? Is this the beginning of the most public royal split since Charles and Diana? Or is this all just Act 1? We don't know yet. But what we do know is this. Montecito was supposed to be a sanctuary. Instead, it became the battlefield. And the first casualty was trust. Now it's your turn. Do you think this is truly the end of Harry and Meghan? Or just another page in the playbook? Comment below. I'm reading everything. And make sure to subscribe, because what's coming next? Let's just say, Meghan's not the only one making moves.